So we will continue our studies. We are talking how God created man. Man is composed of a material part and an immaterial part. The material part is made with the dust of the earth. How that dust was made alive, how did God enlivened or animated that dust? By the creative energy of God. That's the only answer we can say, the creative energy of God. And what about the material part? God spirated or He inbreathed into man's nostrils. Spirit always spirates. Spirate means it always goes like this, spirit. The Spirit of God was spirating over the face of the waters. This word spirit comes from spiration, that which spirates. Son is he who is born. Father is he who begets. And all these words have meanings. So God spirated. Spiration means that which spirates, that which moves. So when God breathed, what was He going? He was giving the spirit of man into. So apparently that spirit, breathed into the nostrils, it went into the whole being of man. It spread into the whole being of man. The spirit is not something that is confined to one place. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. It controls the whole being. His thoughts, his feelings, his emotions, everything, Yes. Man is totally material, man is totally immaterial, both. Not a little bit spirit and a whole lot of body, no. Not like that. He is totally material and totally immaterial. So God vivified the body and He spirated, or inbreathed into man. We must assume that the Creator first enlivened the organic matter into a body and then created a rational spirit which He infused into the body. Or the breathing is what made the body also alive. We know when the spirit leaves, the body is dead. So, did He enliven the body just like an animal body? Then breathed into man the spirit? Or it was a lifeless statue or an idol that was standing there and God stood face to face with that idol and spirated into it? What was happening? We don't know, All that we read is God breathed into man, became a living being. Man became a living soul. The soul is plural, living souls. Means the spirit and soul, both aspects became there. So there is a spirit of life. The oxygen being carried by the blood into every cells and all that. That part also happened together or not, theologians do not know. They don't want to speculate on it. So some will say that we should assume that Creator first enlivened the inorganic matter into a body, then He created a rational spirit which He infused into the body. What we have in Genesis 2:7 is a summary statement of the creation. That's what it is. It does not give the details on how. It's a summary statement. All that we need to know is maybe that summary statement. Sometimes God doesn't give the details because we cannot handle the details. Even the summary statement is too much for us. So the details were given. So this whole matter is, reiterated in many other places, like Ecclesiastes 12:7. Ecclesiastes 12:7. We read it, then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return to God who gave it. So the spirit returned to God who gave it. What about the body? Who gave it? Seems like the body originated from the dust. God made it with the dust. In another sense, there is no ex nihilo creation for the body. The ex nihilo creation is only for the spirit, but not the body. Let's read Luke chapter 23 verse 46. Luke chapter 23 verse 46. Great saints never committed their body into the hands of the Lord. They always committed their spirit or soul into the hands of the Lord. Luke 23:46. What does it say? Yeah, I entrusted my spirit into your hand, our Lord Jesus Christ said. Why he didn't entrusted his body into the hands? Seems like the body was taken by Joseph of Arimathea and others and embalmed it and put it there. But the spirit yes. was the Spirit of God, Spirit of Jesus Christ only given, and was the body dead completely, or it was still alive? The body was dead as far as the spirit removed from, when the spirit is removed. But was the deity in the body? Big questions. We have to deal it when we study Christology. Why the body did not corrupt? Jesus said, I will raise it up myself. So what was there to raise up? The deity must be there to raise it up. He said, I have right to lay it down and to take it back. It's very amazing thoughts. In Genesis, in Acts 7:50, we read about Stephen. At his death, what did he do? He committed his spirit into the hand of the Lord. The body he didn't commit. Lord, I give my body into your hand. No, he didn't. About the body, what we do hear about the faithful disciples coming and taking and burying, and they have made a big lamentation for him and all that. Yes. Genesis 49:33. The Old Testament saints also did the same thing. Genesis 49, they did not, like the New Testament saints, say those words. And when Jacob had made an end of commanding his sons, he gathered up his feet into the bed and yielded up the ghost, and was gathered unto his. He yielded up. Yielding means what? Whosoever gave it, he yielded back. He yielded his ghost and gave back. In Job chapter 10 verse 18, Job chapter 10 verse 18, Job is asking God, wherefore then hast thou brought me forth out of the womb? Or that I had given up the ghost, and no eye had seen me. Giving up the ghost. Same kind of idea in chapter 11 verse 20. But the eyes of the wicked shall fail, and they shall not escape. And their hope shall be as the giving up of the ghost. The idea that a man at death, he always, the body and the spirit are separated. That's the main idea. Of course, when it comes to the saints, they always yielded their soul into the hands of the Lord. Even godly men, I believe at the time of their death, they do the same thing. If they are consciously dying, most of the people these days die unconsciously in the ICU looking at that machine there, but still God is there, so they must be giving up, yielding up the What about this brain death and all that? You're donating your organs when the brain is dead. The ghost is gone, the spirit is gone when the brain is dead. That's a big question, theological question that needs to be settled. There's nothing wrong in donating, because Paul said the idea that in Galatians, if it was possible, you would have donated your eyes to me. Paul said, if it was possible, he said, this science has not grown that much where, one man's eyes could be taken and put in another man. But he said, if it was possible, you would have given. So, I don't think organ donation necessarily is. But the whole thing is, when you take the eye out, you are not dying. You can give one eye or both eyes and you become blind. But when brain is dead, you take out your heart, your kidney, your, whatever organs they wanted to, then it seems like that man cannot live any further, Are you bringing the death into a final point? What point the soul separates? If the soul already separated, no problem in taking out. But if the soul is not separated, you are killing that person. That's a point in my mind. People ask me about, and we know that after death, you can use still the eye and few, but most of the organs cannot be used once the heart also stops, because when the heart completely stops, the cells in the body die because it doesn't get oxygen. So this problem is there. But anyhow, how God, in creation He put the two together, at death the two separates. That's very interesting. Yeah. Where do I place the soul? Soul and spirit is the same thing with the two aspects. Just like I have one coin with the head and tail. If you tell me, you give me the head, you take the tail, what will you do? You can split the coin into two, but suppose if it's a paper printed, head on one side and coin on, still its value if the seal of the Reserve Bank is there. So, it's the same thing, It has two functions, but same thing. So it's almost used synonymously, but not always. Not always. You never call Holy Spirit Holy Soul. Because the soul is like a window, like a French window. You know what a French window is? Where you have two portions, the lower portion for the fresh air to come, the upper portion for the warm air to go out. So if you want to see somebody down at the road, you are in the second or third floor, through which part you will look? The upper part or the lower part? You see the lower part. If you want to look at the sky, where will you look? No, that's what. The spirit relates to God and soul relates to man, the same. Yeah. So Holy Soul is not sought because it's God, it's related to God. So we don't have Holy Soul, it is Holy Spirit. But when man is concerned, he has spirit and soul, the same thing, synonymous, but two kind of functions, two aspects of function. That's what the difference is. So when we give up both. They go together. You cannot divide that. But there is a principle of life, that is what keeps the cells living. It's a beating of the heart, mixing of the oxygen in the blood, then the blood being taken to the heart pumping it to every part of the cell, and the cell is kept alive. That's what keeps. That's what happening in the animal world. They don't have soul or spirit. They only have life. Life is nefesh, so it could be translated as soul, but that soul was commanded into existence, not breathed into existence. So that means that it does the function of, the life-giving function, but it does not have the function of the soul that God breathed into, which is part of God, that communication between God and even communication with the fellow. And will a cow communicate to another cow? Well, how much of a communication? Will it say that my calf died today, I'm very sorry, and will you make arrangements for the burial of the calf? No, there's no such things. Essential instincts are given for its survival, nothing more than that. But yet, it does. It's interesting. Some animals, the way that relates to its masters and all, I'm surprised. Yes. Very, very surprised. Yes. So Genesis 2:7 tells us that man is composed of a material part resulting from the vivification or the enlivening of the dust, and then the immaterial part that comes directly from God. And at death, of course, there is a separation. We hand over the immaterial part back to God, or it automatically takes place. But the material part, the biological part, it goes back to the earth from where it was taken, and of course the Lord will raise it up one day and give it a suitable body to live in heaven or to live in hell, whatever place it's going to be. Yes, a suitable body. Yes. The material part of all animals, that means the life, is commanded into existence, but for man alone it is spirated into, breathed into him by God. That makes a big difference. So we'll say the use of the word nefesh itself does not mean any similarity, because it is used for animals also, for life. Nefesh means life. It could be soul. How it originated? Is it a nefesh that is commanded into existence, or it's a nefesh that is breathed by God into man? Means it's a part of God. That's what makes, So that makes a big difference. When God said, let us make man in our image, this is the key distinction. That making of God is more about the material part than the material part, Because anybody can make an image. We buy toys for our children, some nice dolls and all, but they don't communicate. They don't communicate. You give it into the hand of God, and God won't do it, but if He wanted, He would have breathed into it and makes the whole difference. They're talking dolls, talking dolls. You had to put battery and, some software, some kind into it, so that, it will produce some sounds, and, even ask questions, it may answer and all that, it will say, I love you and all those things, but, it has no spirit in it. So when man says, I love you, it makes a whole difference than a doll says, I love you. Yes, they make some of these, Abraham Lincoln and some of these great presidents even to stand up there, wax, idle, stand up and say a few words, but nobody takes it very seriously. Nobody takes it very seriously, because this is what man is doing. So God didn't do that one. God did the real thing. Yes. So with all the animals, fishes and fowl, the creative formula is let it bring forth after its own kinds. But for man, no. Let us make man in our own image. See, the formula is entirely different. So the use of the word nefesh in itself does not prove that animals have a soul. If somebody says, yes, animals have a soul, I will say it's entirely different type than That does not have immortality and eternality, nothing, because it doesn't originate from God. But as for man, it has immortality and eternality and all. So what about killing all these dogs these days? That's a big talk in many places. Yeah. I don't think you should kill a dog unnecessarily, but I believe you can kill a dog necessarily. Because it doesn't have an immortal soul. It doesn't have an immortal soul. What is more important for a dog is the body, not the soul. Nobody buys a dog for the soul. Whether it is a German Shepherd or it is a Great Dane or it is whatever, Saint Bernard or, whatever brand, you are making the distinction only for the body. But very seldom man accepts another person for the body. For some people say she is beautiful, so I married her, then very soon start hating her because then say, no, she is not beautiful as I thought. Yeah, that's what people do, They marry for the physical body, beauty, and start living, then they find out that the physical beauty is not what matters. It is the soulish beauty, the behavior, the intelligence, the communication, and all that thing. So you don't hate a person because that person doesn't have this physical beauty, because you married for beauty, still have the beauty. Then why problems come? Beyond beauty there is a beauty. That's what it is. Because in the Hebrew language, nefesh is a word for life and for soul. So when you say the dog died, that's the only way you can say it. Like Ruah, that's for Holy Spirit and for even wind and all that. It's a pneumatic instruments. Pneuma is for Holy Spirit and pneuma is also for the wind and air. See that is a limitation of the language, or that is a particular language.
Even if we are silent, there is a language that is going on inside us. So, but I feel that animals don't have this. They are silent by their very nature from inside and from outside.
Yeah.
So maybe the absence of that language, so how can we say that they don't have soul? Because we connect with animals. And I don't know how that works out.
Yeah. Somebody say that, okay, the animals have soul, what difference it makes? The soul doesn't have intellect, emotion, will, self-determinations, nothing, So it's just like saying that you take red paint and paint on something, say it has color. And you also have color. What's the difference between this color and that color? So there's a difference, both are colors. But no child is painted. No child is painted. As I said, the dark father and dark mother now is blessed with really fair child. Who did the painting? It's interesting, right? So we use the word color. But the word color does not mean that, you don't know his color. Somebody say that. Oh, I know him. He's a dark person. Well, no. You don't know his color. The real color I have seen. Somebody say that. You always know what is the color of the animal. There's nothing more for you to see in that animal. That's different. Animals never go. Because what makes man's soul unique is the Creator has given man a spirit soul that is part of him. He breathed, you breathed into it. Basically you inspired into it. But the other said, let the animal come, let all the cattle come after its kind. And the moment they were born, they came out saying, "Moo." See, they have language. The crow speaks the same language everywhere in America and England, India and everywhere. What language they speak? The crowish language. Some speak the bullish language. That's what they do. They don't have their own language. I mean, the American bulls don't speak English. Of course, you hear it like "Whoa," or it's different though. So it's the Creator's design that makes. So the word doesn't mean that, It's just like saying that, okay, there is a pneumatic machine you use for, to tighten the screws or untighten the screw, for example. If somebody say, see, it's a pneumatic machine, it got spirit. Because you also got pneuma. This also got pneuma. You say, yeah. But the use of the word, you can say that, but it doesn't have pneuma. It only has the air power, But you have the living spirit transmitted to you by God. So that's what makes. So simply by playing on a word does not, prove anything. It is the design of the designer. That's what it is. Our God has created man with a material and immaterial part. The material part was not created by a command. It is breathed into man. So when he dies, he gives it back to the God who gave it. That's just that. When man dies, the dust goes back to the earth from where it's taken, but the soul, spirit goes back to God who gave it. When the bull dies, it doesn't go back to God because God didn't give it. God only said, let the bull come. The bull start coming. So that is the difference. It's a big difference. Yes. The main question in theology, that's a big question, that is to be asked is, how man's body and spirit today are created. We know Adam created. Oh, everybody, no question about it. God took the earth and formed it, God breathed into it. But where did Cain get his body and his soul spirit? Where you got it from? That's the question. Does God create a physical body in the womb of the mother? Does God breathe into that body a spirit, just like He breathed into Adam? So a new work of creation happens, come out. Or you get your body from the father and mother, and the spirit God put into it, a new spirit He creates, and soul spirit put in it. Somehow, either at the point of conception or before you are born, at some point. Is it how you get it? Or you get your body and spirit from your parents. So this has been debated, There are people who take, all three sides. There are some takings that, God creates a body, God creates a spirit, and He unites them, and before the child comes out, so you have whatever He takes from the parents is just like He takes from the earth, the dust. So He collects some dust from the father and dust from the mother in the form of, the ovum and the sperm. That's the dust part, but God makes it alive, and then God puts in it. Some say like that, So man is it's a total creation. There are other people who say that the body comes from the parents. The body comes from the parents, but the spirit God creates afresh. For every child that is conceived, every body that is conceived in the womb, God creates a special spirit and puts in it. So children inherit from the parents only physical characteristics, no emotional, no intellectual, no artistic such abilities. No, this is all given by God and creation. Even there is another theory that says that, somehow there are some souls or spirits floating in the universe of pre-Adamic creation. God destroyed, so their bodies were destroyed, but the spirits are just floating. One of those spirits get into, the womb and get into the fetus, and there it is. If a good one gets into, that child will behave a little better. If a bad one gets into, that child from birth will behave real. Yeah. So there are all kinds of theories. Very, very interesting theory. So we will take apart take every one of these theories. The first theory is called the pre-existence of man. The pre-existence of man. The pre-existence of man theory basically say that all human soul spirit existed before. God at some point in the past created multitudes of human souls. God created. God said, I'm going to create 1 billion, trillion, human souls. He just made them. And then what? He then distribute them to different people, at different times. Of course, they will say that the body depends upon what view they take. They will say that the human body comes from the parents. Some will even say that the human body God creates. It's not ex nihilo creation of the human body, they will say, because it takes a little bit from the man and the woman. Then he develops that, God develops it. So it's a creation. This creation of the soul spirit happened much before Adam was created. Each human soul existed in an anti-mundane state and is united with the human body which is created by simple generation. It's only when this spirit unite with this body, that thing becomes a human being. If no spirit comes in it, well, that mass of flesh will be aborted and gone. So at what point and state this spirit soul comes into decides whether abortion is sin or not. Yes. If it happens simultaneously with the conception, then they will say it is sin. But it happens only after 7 months, they are killing it. Before 7 months is not a sin. Because you are only destroying a body. If it happens only after birth, when the child independently breathing, breathing the air that we all breathe, then even you can kill the baby, have abortion till the last quarters. Some say that only life is there when the child is born. It is only at the baptism the spirit soul is get. So whatever you do to the child before baptism, it doesn't matter. See that? When you make one statement, the ramification of that statement is very, very big. But depends upon that, the people believe in abortion and all. That's what even some Christians say that, well, that's only tissues. Yeah. The abortion is not an issue. You are just throwing some tissues out. There's nothing to worry about it. But if you believe that both body and soul spirit come from the parents simultaneously with the conception, then to touch it is a sin. You just cannot touch it. Don't tamper with the life. So our whole concept will be different. This theory was advocated, this theory of the pre-existence of soul was advocated by the Greek philosopher Plato. He is one who first said it. Plato. You heard about Socrates, his disciples, Plato, Aristotle and all those people. Yes. He speculated that human souls have intuitive knowledge of a pre-existent state. Like some of the Hindus will say that, Yeah, some people are conscious of their past. Some people have an intuitive knowledge. In the last life I was, for them, of course, I was a fly, or I was a rat, or I was an elephant. Elephant must be a higher one for them, because all elephants are given Hindu names. I never come across a Thomas or Abraham as an elephant. It's always a Ram or Krishna or Lakshman or Shankaran or something. You ever come across a Christian elephant? No. Thank God you didn't come across. Of course, we name our dog sometimes with Caesar or some other names, Yeah. Yes. It's very interesting. The concept of Hindus about elephants, of maybe an incarnation, reincarnation of something better than maybe a dog or a rat. Of course, even rat is an incarnation of God, right? Yeah. It starts with the Varaha, Kurma, that goes to Dashavadharam. Is rat there in it? Dashavadharam? Anybody knows? Rat is not there. Rat is the vehicle of Ganesh. Yeah, that's right. How that big person will sit on a rat? Must be a big rat. It takes a lot of faith to believe in those lies. To believe in Jesus Christ, you don't need great faith, simple faith. A historical person, lived and died and resurrected,
They have more faith in fact.
Yeah, they have more faith.
But in the wrong people. But in the wrong people.
Yeah, they have more faith, but the wrong faith, the wrong people.
Hindus believing in Jesus, he will make donkey as a vehicle.
They said donkey is, that's why in certain places donkeys are very important. Hey, it all makes good theology, I never thought that far. Yeah, well, the American Labour Party has a donkey as a symbol. Republicans have elephant. Yeah, well, that makes sense. Well, Jesus sat on the donkey, therefore donkey is a vehicle of Jesus. Well, donkey has been the vehicle of many people, bad people and good people. So Plato anyway said this. Later some of the rabbis, rabbinical schools of Judaism adopted this. Plato's statement. Plato said that the reason he said that he believed in the pre-existence of man. The reason he said is he speculated that human souls have intuitive knowledge of a pre-existent state. Human souls have intuitive knowledge of a pre-existent state. I never had that. Did any of you have? Sometimes when children make a problem and disobedience, sometimes we feel that what he was, what spirit he has, but the child never said that I was a bad person, who Hitler before, that no. Some grown-up people made up stories about it. Origen espoused this view. But he was unsuccessful to establish it. Nobody bought it in the Christian circles. No. Müller, a German theologian, tried to give this theory some credibility in a modified form. He did not teach an anti-temporal state of the soul, but a supra-temporal state of the soul. He taught that soul existed and the origin of sin occurred. The fall of man, according to Müller, was not in a time before time. That means it was some time after time began. But it is timeless. Immanuel Kant also believed very similarly. He viewed sin as always existing in space and time. He didn't believe that Adam was the originator of sin, He believed that sin was always in the universe. Miller's theory is that of pre-existence. The ego of man is pre-existent, though the body is propagated. The ego, the self of man, the being of man is pre-existent, but the body is propagated through parents. The pre-existence theory confines the human species only to the body. Means that what you could propagate is only the body. The spirit cannot be propagated. It's very strange. Practical experience tells that most of the children have the behavior pattern of their parents. Yes. They have their parents. And the history shows the artistic ability of some families, musical abilities of families, even sometimes the intellectual capacities of parents. It's not only the physical characteristics that is communicated. So how they come up with a theory like this? I think they made the theory first and then you start explaining it. That's the problem. When you first make a theory, then you find justification for the theory. Your theory never fit into it very well. Yes. The human body belongs to a common species, they said, but the soul is purely individualistic. Man's soul is exactly like that of the angel, they say. Every angel is individually made. The same way every soul of the man is individually made. Sometimes in eternity's past. The spirit was created prior to the sixth day. Human spirit has no ancestors. Only the body has ancestors. What a strange theory. There are people who believe it. Of course, you can believe anything you want. And the more intelligent you are, the more foolishness you will believe. I'm not saying all intelligent people believe foolishness, no. But usually the foolish theories come from very intelligent people. Yes, Plato was no ordinary man. All the great philosophers of the world, philosophers say things that neither they understand nor others understand. And that's true. That's what philosophy. Then only it will be philosophy. Otherwise it's a simple fact, And to be a philosopher, you have to be speaking things that you don't understand or others don't understand, When you don't understand, you can keep on talking. The more you talk, you think that you will understand it. But you don't. And others also, they're wonderful, but I understood nothing. Yeah. The gospel is such a simple thing, every child can understand. The modern art. Yeah, the modern art is like that. Because the modern art doesn't have a theme, it's all confusion. The head is down here, the feet is down there, one eye is here, ears are somewhere else. Mouth is at the tip of the feet. They call modern art. What is the meaning of it? The artist says, you tell me what is the meaning of it. That's what I say, you tell me. So I say, that maybe it is. I don't know. I just drew it. That's the modern art. The modern art, the interpretation belongs to the beholder, not for the artist. The ancient art was not like that, any form of it. whether realism, surrealism, whatever it was, there are rules to interpret it, and the painter will paint it with certain things in his mind. But the modern art, nobody can interpret it. You sometimes take a look at it and say, I don't want to look too long because if I look, I may go eccentric. No, it really is. Okay, so one theory of the origin of the soul, especially, is the pre-existence of man's soul. In some times past, before the time began, or after the time began, but before the creation of human beings, God created millions of souls, which He distributes. That's one theory. The second theory is called traducianism, or creationism. That's different. I will first talk about traducianism. 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 To traduciate means to produce after your own kind. Traduciate. Traducianism is the view that human species applies both to the body and the soul. Human species applies both to the body and the soul. That means, Cain's and Abel's body and soul spirit came from Adam and Eve. Yes, that's the idea. From the parents, the new child gets both body and soul spirit, everything. God does not give anything new. God only in His sovereignty supervises this formation. That He does. Sometimes certain characteristics He will say God sovereignly suppress. That He can. That is the providence of God, providence of God. There is a providential control of God, but God does not create anything. Everything comes from. That's why, as we said earlier, some dark parents will have white children. Naturally, the dark color has to come, but He's providentially suppressed it so that the great-great-grandfathers or mothers color can come to this child. That God does amazingly. Yes. Nobody in our family, some people say, who can sing, but my son, he's a beautiful singer. Yeah, you say, you had anybody, your father? No, he never sang. Yeah, we had a great uncle who was a great singer. Yeah, see? How many generation back? 10 generation back. Yeah, God has blessed you with that gene, That God can do. Yes. Some parents who cannot make a circle, they are the parents of some children who are great artists. And sometimes some great artists, their child cannot make a circle. How do you explain it? This is all the providential control of God, but not the creation. God is not doing anything. If a man and woman will have 1 million children, 10 lakhs children, all 10 lakhs children will look different. In appearance and even in their mental capacities and all. Though both mind and soul, everything came from the parents, the possibilities of millions of options are there in the gene variations, it can come. So all our genes doesn't come up. God, in His providence allows certain to come up. Certain to come up. That's amazing. Well, some very stupid people, you may say that, there are some bright children, very bright children. Well, God sometimes felt that this man has been so faithful, though unintelligent, I wanted to bless him with a very intelligent child. Some very intelligent parents, they give birth to some stupid children. Because God will say that this parent gave them the intelligence, they use their intelligence against God and against the blessing of humanity. I am going to give them a stupid child who will cause more problem for them. They have to suffer for it. God does that. God does that. So all these things happens. So it's actually, you can pray before conception takes place. Lord, in your providential care, you may suppress all those genes that are, not advantageous to the gospel and the church and your glory. Yeah. Diabetes and some of these physical diseases are transferred from parents to children through the genes. Now a diabetic parent can have a child who doesn't have diabetics, but usually the Lord has made a general rule. In His providential care, sometimes God will hold on certain buttons, there, until the whole thing takes place, If He takes it, naturally it will come. My father and mother were diabetics, so I have diabetes. And it's very interesting, will our children have diabetes or not? I don't know. God can press that button, that gene. Yes. But generally, diabetes is a physical characteristics, not a mental, not a soul spirit characteristics. If I am a very long suffering man, by birth my gene is very, very what you call very patient type, and and my wife is also very patient. Still it doesn't require that the children born from us will be patient. If my father was very impatient, maybe they come up with that gene. Unless God in His providence will do something. That's where our prayer, we start praying for children not after conception. After conception, not very much change is going to take place. Most of the people, when they know that their wife is, conceived, and they say, Lord, give us a boy. And God has to come in and do an operation or something, transgender operation or something. No, He doesn't do that. So why don't you pray before you come together, conception takes, Lord, we would like you to give us a boy, for this and this purposes. We want him to be serving you, maybe a missionary, maybe a leader for the Lord, or maybe he will do great good for the humanity. In some ways will glorify God. You can ask God, and not necessarily God will do that. God is a prayer answering God. So God may do it. And great men of God have done that. That's why Samuel was born like that. Hannah prayed, if you give me a child, I will give it for your service. And then they related, and God gave them a boy. That's what. After the conception takes place, you give me one? No. So we needed to pray, Well, very few children are born with that sort of prayer, we may pray occasionally, but usually people will pray after the child is conceived, or even after the birth will pray that bless this child and all that. There is nothing wrong in that one. You are willing to accept whatever God gives. You are forfeiting the privilege of asking and receiving. That's all. So I encourage that you all practice this prayer, Or you could say, whatever God gives, we take. Then you have to say that, God, you are sovereign. Whatever you give, I take. But make sure that you give a good one. And God is very gracious, So traditionalism teaches that man, the species of man, means both body and soul spirit. The material and immaterial part comes under the species. The psychico-physical nature come from the parents, the father and mother. you know. It is procreated, both physical and the psychical, both aspects. This is what most of the great divines of the church history, believed, including Tertullian, Augustine, and, a lot of great big names, Luther and many people, they believed that. Tertullian's view of traducianism is described by Neander as follows. It was his opinion that our first parents bore within them the undeveloped germ of all mankind. That of the soul of the first man was the fountainhead of all the human souls, and that all varieties of individual human nature are but different modifications of that one spiritual substance. Hence the whole nature became corrupted in the original father of the race, and the sinfulness is propagated at the same time with the soul. So because it was all, species, when whatever corruption has taken place in Adam and Eve, that corruption is passing, propagated, Yes. That's what traducianism. The other people have a great problem, but if God created these new souls and putting in man, then where the corruption come from? They say that God makes it corrupted. Yeah, that's what they say. God says, let it be a sinner. So that's a very dangerous theory, Very dangerous theory. Yes. According to Tertullian, Turretin, another theologian, traducianism is the only view that could explain the propagation or the transference of the sin nature. All the other theories have to make God guilty of creating or imputing sin on a sinless person. Traducianism is the only way we can explain how the sin nature is transferred. Yes.
I had this doubt also. God created Adam and Eve, and they sinned even before the fall. Before they were pushed out of.
Yeah, Adam and Eve sinned, and then only they were through. Yeah.
Like that, sin was embedded in them at the creation itself, or because they sinned when they were at the creation already.
They sinned. God created them sinless and put them in the garden. They were on a probation. God said, do not eat the fruit of the tree of knowledge. The day you eat, you shall die, or your sin will come and you will be separated from my relationship. And they did it. So sin came, they became sinners.
So sin came, or was that sin was present inside?
No, there was no sin present in them. Sin is not a metaphysical thing. Sin is an ethical thing. A metaphysical thing is man is created with a material and immaterial part. That's metaphysical. That God created them. Sin is not anything metaphysical. It doesn't come into, it's not another third thing that come. A man was created holy. It's just like, you had a good milk. The milk didn't have any germs in it or anything. But then certain things you were not supposed to do, but you did, so what happened? The milk was spoiled. The spoiling part was not created by God in the milk. But the milk is created with the capacity of spoiling. The capacity of spoiling is not equal to the spoiling. I put a ball here, it has a capacity to fall that way or this way. But the falling is not in that one. It only has the ability. Instead of falling there, it can fall this way. If you fall that way, that's sin. If you fall this way, it is holiness. So man was created, you say holy, not even neutral, with the capacity, with the ability. That's what man is. Man means he has certain abilities, other people call it the will. The will to obey or the will to disobey. I call it the capacity to obey or the capacity to disobey. If you obey, this blessing will come. If you disobey, this will come. But man was never created with the sin nature. No. People who say man was created, but they think that sin is metaphysical. When man sinned, he didn't lose anything. What he lost is the ethics. His relationship is lost. God said, I cannot have somebody who does not obey me. I can have only somebody who obey me. Man is created with the ability to obey. Or he is created with the ability not to obey. He has to decide it. If you obey, you can be with me. If you don't obey, you will be out. That's it. So sin is not a metaphysical. If it's a metaphysical, God cannot do anything. Because it is there. To undo it, you have to take that metaphysical away from. So many people think sin is metaphysical. No, sin is an ethical problem. It's a forensic problem. Yes. So all the other theories, they cannot explain how sin is transferred from parents to children. Adam ate, how did we become sinners? If God creates a new soul and give it to us, how can we become sinners? How am I responsible for them? Funny theories they have brought up, and we will talk about some of those funny theories, It's a big subject. And now creationism is the third theory. That's a little bit different than the pre-existing souls. Creationism confines the idea of species to the body. In this respect, it agrees with the theory of pre-existence. But the difference is this. In pre-existence, God already created billions of souls there. Then it enters into. But in creationism, God creates a new spirit or a new soul for this particular body that is conceived in the womb of the mother. And God puts this new spirit that He created only for this person into it. So creationism says that God creates a new spirit and then imparts it to the physical body that is generated by the parents. So it has, they say that, every human being is a creation of God. Psalmism seems to say, you made me or you created me and all these things. There are verses that says like that, you only created me. Well, that is, so they say that's the creationism. So the body is from the parents, but the soul. But Psalmist said that my body is also, when I was formed, when I was nothing, when I was formed in the deeper parts of the earth, when my bones were. So the Psalmist is talking about creation with reference to the physical body. So they cannot use those verses. And of course everybody agrees that somehow the species to be maintained, or both the body and the soul cannot be newly created, because if it is newly created, we don't have a human species. Like angels then. Every human being's body and soul is created individually, so we don't belong to a human race. There is no angel race. Then there will be no human race, because every single human being is created by God, both body and spirit. So there is only a corporate body of mankind. Man, but not a mankind. So that will be a problem. Creationism denies the fact that human souls had existence in Adam or in any other human parent. Creationist holds that God on the sixth day created two human individuals, one male and one female, and in them also created the specific physical nature from which the bodies of all subsequent individuals were procreated. However, the soul in each instance was created new, brand new, an ex nihilo creation, they say that. Ex nihilo creation, and then infused into this propagated body. So creation activity is not over in 6 days. God is continuously creating human beings for the creationist. So when somebody says, I'm a creationist, it's not the evolution creation. In theology, when somebody say I'm a creationist, what they mean to say is that I believe that the human soul spirit is created, at the moment of conception or subsequent to conception, and then infused into that. Now what point this infusion takes place, that differ from theology to theology. Again, the validity or the sinfulness of abortion depends upon. If it's simultaneous, they will say abortion is wrong, because conception and creation takes simultaneously. As soon as conception takes place, it's put in it. But if it's subsequent, before the soul is put into it, if you destroy it, you are only destroying some tissues, nothing more than that. That sort of. This view was held by Aristotle. The other was by Plato. So this is by Aristotle. And embraced by Ambrose, Jerome, Pelagius, and Bellarmine, and so many other people. The theory gained popularity in the Middle Ages over Traducianism. Traducianism was very popular. In the Middle Ages, creationism has gained the upper hand. However, all Lutheran theologians believed in Traducianism, but some of the Reformed theologians, they, for a time being, they went. But now, basically, all Reformed, all Lutheran, everybody is a Traducianist. There are very few good theologians who hold in Traducianism, in creationism. The question between the creationist and the Traducianist is this: when God created the first two human individuals, Adam and Eve, did He create in and with them the indivisible substance of all the succeeding generations of men, both as to body and soul, or only as to the body? That's the key question. I repeat that. The question between the creationist and the Traducianist is this: when God created the first two human individuals, that is Adam and Eve, did He create in and with them the individual substance of all the succeeding generations of men, that is men and women, both as to body and soul, or only as to the body? This is the major question that is being debated between the creationist and the Traducianist. Was the human nature that was created in Adam and Eve simple or complex in another sense? The human nature was simple means it cannot be divided, only for Adam. If it was complex means it is number of human nature, for all the humanity, it was there. So was it simple or was it complex? That's the question that is being debated. Was it only physical or was it psychico-physical? Was provision made for propagating out of the specific nature deposited in Adam individuals who would be a union of body and soul, or only a mere body without a soul? The physical union of a father and mother is, we don't want to use the word creating, but causing simply a physical substance or physical and spiritual substance. This is the question. Am I the father of my children only to their body? I have nothing to do with their spirit, soul. They are rational, intelligent, they are intellect and emotion and self-awareness and self-consciousness and so many other things. I am not the father of any of them. Only son, I am parent only for your physical body. I have nothing to do with the other part. Is that? Or when I am say I am the father of so and so, I am totally father. This is a big question. You are calling daddy only? So when daddy died, father died, the son will be saying, well, only for the physical, your body is daddy gone. But my daddy is not gone. He is not my daddy. Only body is daddy. What a strange theory. It is. When you think more about it, the ramifications are too much. Yes. The question between the two views related to the quantity of being that was created. on the sixth day, when God is said to have created man, what is the quantity? Only of one man. Now the interesting question they cannot answer is, did God breathe into Eve's nose after the bone was made into a physical, shape? Or Eve got her in spiritual part from Adam? So they lost it there. If God also breathed into Eve, true, okay, your idea is correct. See? No, God only, the physical creation was of man, actually, the body and the soul. And then separated, took a living part from Adam and made it a woman. Made it a woman. In another sense, just like some of the scientists today saying that you take a tissue and make it, that's what God did. Was it tissue culturing? I don't know. If it was tissue culturing, it was in seconds he did it. No, whatever it was. A piece of bone was taken. I don't know why a piece of flesh was not taken. Actually, the Bible does not say a ribbon or anything. It only says something from the side was taken. That word used for rib there is used only once in the whole Hebrew language. That's there. So no Hebrew scholar knows what it is to this day. Because it is taken from the side, everybody assumes it is a rib. That's what it is. So they translate a rib. So now people say that, it was not a rib he has taken, it was something of a gene he has taken, maybe, Adam's gene was taken and made a woman out of it. Who knows what it was, The science was not developed that much to give us this understanding. So God said, it's taken something from the side. And theologians they all translated something from the side must be a rib. What else is on the side? Because if it is skin, no operation needed. You don't have to put somebody to sleep. If it's nail, you can cut it and make it. So man has to be put into anesthesia, has to be given. But whatever method God has done, anesthesia needed to be, and it was a surgery. So what God has taken, I don't know. It's all very interesting. People have counted the ribs and found the same number of ribs for man and woman. No match. Yeah, well, Eve was the first one to doubt it, One day Adam went for a walk and he got very late. So when Adam came back and went to sleep, Eve pretended sleeping, and then Eve counted every rib to see whether another woman is made somewhere else. Otherwise, why was he late? It's not in the Bible, okay? Yeah. So this sort of, big questions are there, very, very important. So since God did not breathe into Eve to give her life, we must assume that life came from Adam. But that's a statement. He made them male and, after saying, let us make man, he made them male and female, and he called them Adam. So that means that both male and female were involved in their creation. It is only a separation of that bisexual personality. That's all what happened. God did not make, another woman with the soil, with the dust, and God did not breathe into her. No, God separated her. So that surgery was a surgery of separation. The Siamese twins were separated. Something. Of course, Adam was not walking with a woman and a man, that idea is not there. The idea is that the human species is created in the original creation. It is only the propagation part that comes from it. That's what God is communicating, that part. So the creation is really have a problem when we have the statement in Genesis 1:27, created man male and female. The creationists assert that only a part of the man was male, man was created, and then the woman was created from the bone, but her soul must have been, infused into it. But Bible does not say anything about it. No. If that is what it is, that's a place to say it. So the creationists teach that God creates separate souls for every body man propagates. But it is good that both creationism and traducianism agree on the most difficult part of the question. That is, in Adam and Eve propagates the body. Well, if Adam can carry all the bodies, elements or all the bodies of humanity, the spirit after all doesn't weigh anything. Weight comes with the matter. So what is the difficulty in them saying that, in Adam and Eve they had the substance for all the body, and so that's too much, they say that. That's too much. What is too much? What's too much? So they agree that at least the body that is the most difficult part, to think that, in Adam and Eve all our bodies were there deposited. If you can believe the body was deposited, there's very little difficulty to believe that the spirit was also. So the creationist concedes that human history does not start with the birth of the individual man, because the body is traduciated, and besides, if it's traduciated, it's already in Adam. So if it was already in Adam, the beginning of humanity, human species is not, when I was born, but right then Adam was created. He maintains that the body of man and the physical life are not ex nihilo creation, but the creationists say that the spirit is ex nihilo creation. No, we said neither of them is ex nihilo creation. Both body and spirit we get from the parents. The creationist concedes the existence in Adam of the body of the species. How could this be? Is a major problem which both the creationist and the traducianist have to explain. It is as difficult to think of an existence of human body of the entire species in Adam as it is of the soul in Adam. If you can explain that in Adam all the human bodies of the species existed, you have also explained the other part. The major difficulty is over. Actually, it is more difficult to think of a visible, tangible body to exist than an invisible and intangible spirit to exist. It's so easy to imagine that an intangible, invisible spirit is existing, because body is tangible, To say that my body was in Adam, I can more easily say that my spirit was in Adam than my body was in Adam. Now the difficulty often is the result of the improper understanding of the idea of substance. What is meant by substance? Substance is not a material, but the nature. We call about the divine substance. The divine substance is spirit. When we say divine substance, we are not thinking about a material with the density, volume that occupies space and all that. No, we are talking about a nature. God by nature is spirit, God by nature is not body. That's what I mean. So substance, people think of substance as matter. Substance is not matter, substance is nature. It is the phenomena which is the base for them. Substance is unextended and formless, yet a real entity. So in anthropology, the human substance or nature is without extension and figure. Yet it is a certain amount of real being with the definite and distinguishable properties. When you say that he is a loving person, what do you mean by? Is love a physical substance? No. But is love real? Yes, love is real. But it is not a physical substance. Love is as real as your leg or head is. But yet, love is not a physical thing. But it's a real thing. Is it pain real? Yes, pain is real. But is it a substance? No, it's not a substance. So don't think of all realities needs to be material substance. No. When Bible uses substance, it's not always the material. Physical substance are physical. Spiritual substance are spiritual. Material substance we can touch, we can see with our physical eyes and all. The physical senses can handle the physical substance. But the spiritual substance cannot be handled by the physical senses. It can handle only spiritually. That's why we don't see God. God is as much as a reality as we are. We don't see angels because angels are spirits. They cannot be seen with our physical eye. Angels have to take a physical form of a man, then we can see them because they have taken a physical form. Otherwise they cannot be seen. So the whole problem with the creationists come because of their misunderstanding of what is a substance. They think that the physical is a substance, so from man the sperm is contributed in the form of semen. From the woman, the ovum comes. They are all physical substances. But spirit, that's not a substance. So how can you communicate it? You can communicate love. How you communicate love? It's not a spiritual substance. We communicate a lot of things. Ideas we communicate, don't we? Are ideas material things? I can plan an idea here in your mind. And that idea can control you for the rest of your life. Somebody can just plant an idea that, hey, your wife is not faithful to you, That idea can control your relationship with your wife for the rest of your life. At home you go back and there is a different kind of behavior. And the poor wife will be wondering what happened. Somebody has planted a wrong idea. See that? Is that idea more real than sometimes some of the matters? Yeah. It's more real than the gold chain you gave to your wife. Because the chain is not controlling the rest of her life. But this idea will. So the whole problem with the creationists is that they think that only a material thing can be transferred from parents to children. Non-material thing cannot be. Oh yes, non-material things are transferred, more readily than the material things. So only the body, no. The spirit also. The rational soul, the immortal life, occupies no space. But that doesn't mean it is not real. It is not divisible by any material instrument. It cannot be examined by any microscope. But it is as real as it is. Sometimes sit down and, oh boy, any doctor examine me, I have no problem. But I say, but I don't have any peace in me, I don't have peace of mind. I have examined everything. Now you have no problem. Your heart is beating. Your lungs is working. Your kidney is working. What is wrong with you? Doctor, you don't understand. My problem is not a kidney problem. My problem is a mind problem. I don't have peace of mind. See, that's as much real actually, more real. It keeps me from my sleep, in my relations. I get angry for no reason, get irritated. I shout for no reason. I run around for no reason. I keep eating everything I find for no reason. Or I stop eating for no reason. And doctor says, no problem. Yeah, no problem. But the problem is there. So I said the non-material substances are as real as the material substances are. Man is a material, non-material being. He has a material body and a non-material soul spirit. The material part has activities like eating, drinking, pumping the blood, and your different system, your digestive system, your neurological system, you have your sexual system, you have so many systems. They are all working, but there behind them there is another system. Even it controls all these systems. Your hunger is gone simply because your non-material system is not feeling right. People say, I don't feel like eating. I have no hunger. What happened? He said something. He said something? That has affected digestive system? Did he pour it down into your stomach? No, he only said it. How can that affect? That's the whole human being. So Traducianism has more, reality, and the Bible teaches it. We're going to examine a whole lot of scriptures on it, but it's time for us to deal with the physical things.